Hello and welcome to the operating room. I'm Lucas
I'm Karan.
and Corinna.
I'm Corinna. Nice to meet you.
So today we're going to be interviewing a biomedical engineer who was on a pre-med track. Now she's in residency. Where are you from, Corinna?
I'm Venezuelan and I lived there until I was like 10, and then my family moved to Miami. And I just went to high school. Like I went up to high school in Miami, and then I went to Boston University for college, and now I'm in med school at Boston University.
So
Awesome.
you said your undergrad and medical school all in Boston University.
Yeah, so I studied biomedical engineering at BU. BU has like a couple of like direct entry programs into med school, but I didn't do any of those. I took a year off and then I came back for medical school.
So,
Awesome. Fun.
so you did your 4 years of undergrad and then you took a gap year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
you did 4 more years of medical school.
I'm only in my third year of med school.
Okay, you're third. Okay. Well, yeah. So I just wanted to ask you also. So biomedical engineering, when you did undergrad in biomedical engineering, how difficult was it for you? Because I know that that's one of the most difficult majors out there to do. And if you're on pre-med track, it only makes it that much harder. So how much of a challenge was it for you?
I think it was definitely harder. Honestly, engineering I think might be harder than med school. I think also it depends on like how much you like it and how much you like studying. I think I study way more in med school, but I think the test and like it was just harder, I think, and like to do well in college, I would say.
Okay.
I think it also really depends on how prepared you came from high school. So I did IB for high school. So I had like 120 credits before getting to BU.
Isn't that a
Which
full
didn't mean
degree?
it didn't save me any time, because for like med school they like you to redo stuff. So like I still had to take bio and chem and stuff again, but it helped me because those like in college, all of those general courses are like weeding out courses. So it helped that I had like a good base from high school. Which
So for those of you watching that don't know what IB is, it's basically just a really difficult curriculum, right? And it's just like AP classes are just harder and you have to write essays and
yeah, it's like an international it's supposed to be the like the hardest type of high school program that you can do. It's internationally based. I will say it focuses more on like liberal, if you do like liberal arts, incredible. But you can also do like a bunch of advanced classes, and like I'd like focused in chemistry, so I did like higher level chemistry. And you could also take like I did like math, and then I did up to like BC Calc or whatever. So I think a main reason why I did well in engineering was because I came prepared from before, not because I was studying like crazy during college.
and what was your GPA with in biomedical engineering?
It was not good. It was like it was 3.55.
Yeah, but that's still an A, and I'm sure that
Yeah, I think
Considering the weight of the classes.
yeah, I think that you have to like, once I was applying, and I don't know what is that website called. There's like a website that you guys can see, and you pay like $40 or something, and you can see like the averages of everything to get into each med school. And like my GPA wasn't cutting it for like any med school. So I think you just have to like think it's like it's not fair to compare myself to like a much easier major. And I think that med schools understand that as long as you can like prove yourself in a different way.
so you think because you did biomedical engineering and because it's just that much harder, you think it puts you on edge over biology and chemistry students?
Well, I think that you have to also, if I had like done biomedical engineering and then like didn't score well on the MCAT, or I don't know, wasn't doing a lot of like you just have to like biology students can also be like fantastic. I think it's just like I was able to prove like look at my MCAT score, it's still like over the 90th percentile. Like I'm not dumb. I'm just in really hard classes.
Yeah.
Do you think your major like prepared you better for the MCAT?
Like yes and no. Like for example, psychology, like I had to learn that pretty much all on my own. But that was easy to learn on my own. Whereas like I scored in the 98th percentile for chemistry and physics, where like that was solely because of engineering, not because I like and like engineering makes you do like bio. I don't know. Yeah, I think the stuff that I had to learn separately was easier to learn, I would say, than like people who like have to learn or go more.
So
I don't
you
know.
so you have to like learn like the things that are less weighted. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Well, I think it's just psychology can be. I don't want to like shit on psychology,
Don't
but
worry.
it's more like common sense. Like it wasn't that hard for me to learn that. Whereas like I had years and years of chemistry and like physics, which made me do better in those sections. And I think also engineering like kind of prepares you. Like engineering tests are so hard. Are you both in engineering?
Well, I was actually in
Just thinking
between
about it.
biomedical engineering and biochemistry, and I talked to you a lot about it. But I ended up making the switch to biochemistry.
Okay. I mean, I think all of these they're all kind of the same, but I think like these tests are like really hard what we take in college. They just like kind of prepare you for like figuring out during the test, like, okay, focus, like what could this be? Whereas like I think if I would have studied something a little more like liberal artsy, that would have been harder.
Yeah,
Um,
obviously. Obviously. And so do you think that biomedical engineering, so biomedical engineering is like really engineering based, right? It's more engineering than bio, right?
Yeah.
And do you think that threw you off a little bit with like your education on like, and as we're heading to medical school?
um, like yes and no. So I guess it depends on the school. Like BU has like a or like every school, I think you guys have like a flow chart of like what you have to take and what you don't have to take. And there is like certain things that you have to take. You have to do all the calculuses. Like that hasn't helped me a lot at all. And but then you can choose like your professional electives. So I always chose like electives that were leaning towards med school and that like fulfilled my medicine requirements. So, like I took orgo through that, so I didn't have to take anything extra later. I took biochem through that. And then it was like even like more stuff like I'm trying to think. I took like a neuro elective, which like I didn't have to do. I took like I'm trying to think this something about like nanoparticles. I took a class on that, but I don't
That's
know
so
what it
cool
was
though.
called. But it was like you can just like tailor. I could have just chosen to do like biomechanics type of classes, but I was like, this is not gonna help me at all. So you can just like tailor your courses to like kind of match better. I will say like the first year of med school, especially, there was stuff that I like definitely had to learn that like other people didn't have. I took like engineering bio, which is like still bio, but it's not as much as bio as a bio major took.
Yeah.
So like the first year of med school especially is very instead of like organ, it depends on the school, but like for BU, it's not like organ system based. It's more like like what is that even called? Like we took like biochem again, and we took like molecular all this other like
Yeah,
nitty
I know
gritty
which one you're talking about.
biochem
I don't
stuff that like I knew nothing about. But I will say that engineering was so hard that when it came down to study for this, I was like, okay, like it's not horrible. It's fine. But I will like some people definitely already knew some of that stuff, and I was like, what is an enzyme? Right, you know what I mean? Like so if you do biochem, you already know some of that. So I think there's like there's pros and cons.
Okay. Well, I know for, different kind of majors, there's generally like a set kind of career path. Like in engineering, it's expected that, you take internships and stuff. But maybe for, like a hard science, like chemistry, you do a lot of research and stuff. So do you think that being an engineering student, it made you look more towards like internships or maybe something else like that?
Um, so I think it helped that I knew pretty early on that I was just gonna end up doing medical school. That the engineering was just kind of for fun. So I tailored all of my like research stuff to fit more for med school. And I think that even within obviously if you're studying like mechanical engineering, this wouldn't work. But like biomedical engineering is so like it's such a wide range that I could be like making like prosthetics, which I wasn't gonna do. Or you could be like working on tiny little cells in a lab, which that matches more with med school. So like I knew all of my even like with my work study job, like I could have worked, I don't know, in the cafeteria, but instead I was like, let me work in like the chemistry lab. And then all I was doing was like cleaning all of the like vials and stuff that we use during lab, but I can tailor that during my application to be like, and that got me interested in the lab, blah, blah, blah. Then like for all of my research, it was mostly all like cancer based. That was like a little more engineering because it was like with immunoparticles, nanoparticles. But then like one whole year I did clinical research in multiple sclerosis. That had nothing to do with engineering. I think also if you know that you're not going to do anything with engineering, who really cares what internships nobody's forcing you to do an engineering internship because you're not trying to find a job in engineering later. So I never really worried about having to do anything engineering. For engineering, we do have to do like a senior project. So that has to like match. But I chose like a project in a lab that was like very biochem based. And I use that a lot in my, like, I don't know. You can just like make anything work, I think.
And something I was gonna ask you, but I forgot to ask towards the beginning. What type of doctor do you want to be?
Oh, I really like oncology. So I knew early on that I did not like lab stuff. I did my fair share of it. I was like, I don't want to do this. So then I did my gap year at the Miami Cancer Institute. And they just like put me in the radiation oncology department. And I was like, wait, I really like this. Recently, I've been like maybe leaning more towards like medical oncology. But oncology is looking good. I don't know yet, though.
So can you tell us a little bit about the resume you built during when you were in your undergrad and what you're doing now? So in your undergrad, you told me that you were like in a bunch of research programs and things like that. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I think I've told you kind of about this. I feel like it's important to like kind of build on each experience because at the end, your application is kind of like a story and you want to like kind of explain how everything comes together because there's no point in saying that you're interested in 19 million different things. Like you're not, nobody is. But you can like show growth in each step and like how each thing led you to like the next thing. So like I said, I started work study at a chemistry lab my freshman year. And like work study, if you can get work study, you should do it because you can do like 3 hours a week. I didn't do 3 hours a week because I needed the money because my parents were like, you're done. But there's so many options for work study jobs and they just need students. So you can like make that sound really good and you're like doing homework half the time. Sorry to be you who paid me money. But I did that. Then I worked with Dr. McGoran from FIU in his lab, which was nanoparticles. The whole thing was like a whole mess. But like I was like, wait, I actually like this is like interesting to read on. Did I actually do any significant research? Probably not. He's probably like, Corinna, you made like one nanoparticle. But I was like reading papers and stuff, and I was like, this is interesting.
So can you talk a little bit more about like the nanoparticles? So you said that that's more engineering based over or medicine based.
Yeah. I'm not like if you can tell by how I talk, I'm kind of like all over the place. And like that's not who you can be in a lab. You have to be like very focused. It's very like lots of pipetting and like making sure that you're doing everything perfectly perfect, which is not really my vibe. But there is like a lot of cool research going on with nanoparticles right now and immunotherapy. And I think it's probably going to change oncology. So it was like really interesting to learn about. Am I gonna ever touch a nanoparticle again? Hopefully not. I really hope
You learned from that, right? At least you learned from
but yeah, it was like it was like enough for me to be like, wait, I like oncology. I just don't like to sit in a lab and pipette. And like some people love that. So that like in the McGoran lab, there was like 5 of us students. I think we're all doing different things now. After that, I'm trying to think what I did after that. Well, the whole time I was all of college, I was volunteering at a hospital. I think if you can find, almost all hospitals have like a medical, like a pre-med kind of program, and you get like a cool rec letter at the end. So if you could do that, that's worth it. Then, sorry. My dad got misdiagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So I found an internship in multiple sclerosis, and I did that for a year. And it was clinical research, which I think is, if you, again, you guys need to find this website. I wish I knew the name. I should have prepared more.
Okay.
But you can look at the stats of like what students do as pre-med, and like 80% of students do like lab work, but only like 15% do paid clinical research. So I did that for a year. Then I had to choose a senior project. And I did that again with nanoparticles, but I did it at a lab at MIT.
Wow.
So
Very well.
I
If you haven't noticed, she's very smart and very well.
but I probably wouldn't have done that if I didn't have the McGowan lab experience, which, like, again, I made like 3 nanoparticles there, but at least I had read up on all these papers, so I knew enough at the interview. And I like sold it as like, that's where I learned. And like before that, I had done the chemistry lab, blah, blah.
So you did like the federal work study before college?
No, I did that like my freshman year of college. Yeah, no, not before. And then by this point, it's already my senior year of college. And then I was like, please let me never see immunotherapy again, but I still love cancer. So then that's why I did clinical research for my gap year.
What would you say is like the difference between clinical and like bench work?
Well, I like to talk to humans.
I'm
So
with you on that one. I'm with you on that one.
in clinical research, you're just like, you're running. So I was probably running like 20 different clinical trials. So it's like finding patients for the trials, and then like coordinating all of their appointments, like following all of the protocols. But like the whole time you're just like either chatting with doctors or you're chatting with patients. Whereas like in a lab, you're like quiet. Or like, yeah, like at the McGowan lab, we had to be in the dark because there was like certain, and I was like, this is not for me. I cannot be in the dark. But again, like I definitely wouldn't have gotten all these other things if I didn't have like the thing before. So
And now in your medical school, do you still do you feel like you're still doing a lot of extracurriculars, or do you think you slowed down on that?
no, I'm still doing a good amount. My first year of med school, I volunteered for homeless, like a homeless clinic called Boston Healthcare for the Homeless. And they needed, also if you speak another language, that's fantastic. Because they always need somebody who speaks a different language. So I volunteered with Spanish speaking patients, basically coordinating if they like had understood and where they're coming since they're experiencing homelessness, and if they want to be seen by a doctor. So I did that. I also applied to, I was in a couple of clubs that I was like interested in. So I was part of the Oncology Society. I was a TA for medical Spanish the first half of my first year, and then I became a leader of medical Spanish in my second semester of my first year.
Well, I speak Spanish, but sadly Chrome doesn't. But it's okay. We're working.
You don't need to. You don't need to. I'm just saying, like, these are that you can, things that you can, like, very few people speak Spanish in Boston in medical school, so it's very easy for me to become a leader of that club. Then I also became a leader of the Oncology Society. Again, if there's so many groups in med school that you'll find not 150 kids are interested in neurosurgery. There's probably only 5. So the 5 of you will apply to be a leader. So I think that there's very easy opportunities to get leadership stuff in med school. And then I think just like sending emails. I sent an email to like 5 different people who I was like potentially interested in working with for research. And one of them immediately was like, I saw your resume. Are you interested in this project? I've been wanting to do it forever. It's with Spanish speakers. And I see that you have all this oncology research. Do you want to apply to this minority award? And it's a national award that only like 5 people get, and we got it. Like there's
Wow.
so I've been doing that with her, Dr. Hirsch in the radiation oncology department at BU, for like the last year and a half. I just went to Chicago for the conference like a month ago.
That's amazing.
Really impressive.
Like there's so many opportunities to apply to there. It's just like you have to be applying to them, and
You have to look for them.
I hate to like be like, hi, I'm Corinna. I'm a first year medical student. I would love to work with you. But like they also want students to work with. This also looks good for them. Everyone who's in academia needs to like publish research. So you think that you're being annoying by emailing all these people, but it's not. I'm sure Dr. McGowan got a bunch of stuff from like all the students that he has in his lab all the time. So don't like worry about being annoying. And like, yeah, probably like 80% won't answer, but it doesn't matter because 10% will. And
That's all that matters.
oh, I forgot that I also shadowed at Ortho now during college.
Wait, can you repeat that again? You shadow where?
I shadowed at Ortho now, like an orthopedic clinic in Miami. They're very nice if you guys want to shadow them. I'm trying to think of what else. I don't know.
Well,
And then I'm also doing another research study right now for HPV vaccine, also with Spanish speakers. It's sickening.
why is it sickening?
If there's something that like you have, but like if you know how to code or something, you can use, like not very many people in med school know how to code. So just like there's certain things that you can use to your advantage. And like I am genuinely interested in the Spanish speaking population. So none of it is like annoying to me because I love speaking with Spanish speakers. And I love oncology. So like doing that research, I'm like, heck yeah, I'm gonna spend the afternoon in the oncology clinic. It's not like a pain.
It's amazing. And can I ask you a little bit about like your financial situation during undergrad and then medical school? Because I know that everybody says that after medical school you end up with such a large amount of debt. And in undergrad, did you get into debt during your undergrad degree?
Yes, I did. So I will say
How much?
this is hashtag my father. I was like, I can stay in Florida. I got into UF. I was like, I'll go to UF, not an issue. And he was like, absolutely not. You're not staying. He was like, you've been with the same people from Miami. Like, you're never gonna leave the bubble of Florida. And I would like didn't understand it. And he was like, taking loans is like a risk that I think is worth taking. And like now that I think about it, I did go into, I'm trying to think, undergrad, I probably have like 70K of loans. And then, but then when I was applying to medical schools, I got into really good medical schools that I probably wouldn't have gotten into because the opportunities that you get in like a city like Boston, or even just like it helped that I went to BU, so I got into BioMed. And like there was way easier schools that I didn't get into. And that could be for a variety of reasons, but I got into harder. I don't know. I think that now it's worth it. And then I think also something to think about is that if you're gonna get a lot of loans from med school, like I'm at like 400 right now. But if you work at a hospital for 10, at a nonprofit hospital for 10 years, your loans are forgiven. So you just have to pay the loans for 10 years.
Really?
No, not about it.
I didn't know they
it's not
got
that bad.
forgiven though.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, there's like some really good loan forgiveness programs. There's also like if you want to work in like rural cities, your loans can be forgiven. If you want to do anything with like the army or like any of whatever, the Navy, all that good stuff. I don't think you even get you don't even have to take out loans. So there's like a bunch of programs, and so like even my like undergrad loans, I'm not paying for them right now. That'll be included in the 10 years. So to me, I think it's not that bad.
I wish honestly I knew about that because right now I'm staying at FIU. My dream school was UM actually. And like some people want to leave like that Miami bubble, but I don't. I love Miami. I feel like so at home, and I love the environment and like that. Everything's nonstop, so I love Miami. And I wanted to go into UM, and I got in, and I think they gave me like 40K a year, but UM's very expensive.
Yeah.
So I still had to pay like 30K every year, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna get into debt for undergrad, and then get into more debt during medical school.
I know.
So much. So I just stayed at FIU where they're going to be paying me to attend the school, and I'd rather that than get into that.
Yeah.
With Quran.
Sorry?
I mean, I could have gone to any school, but
Yeah.
I just chose FIU because I liked it more. I thought the opportunities were better for me. So.
Yeah, I don't think there's any right, like there's no like right answer, I don't think. I think that like looking at it now, it was worth it for me. But like who knows? I might completely, and like for example, if I want to go into like private practice or something like that, then my loans won't cover under the like public service. So I'm saying that now with a large knock on wood. I don't know. But I do think that it helped me get in to like good med schools. And I also love Miami. I thought I was gonna stay in med school in Miami. But you don't really get that many choices once you get to med school.
Yeah, that's very much a thing where they said like once you get into medical school, it's more like the medical school chooses you. You don't choose it.
Yeah.
Did that apply to you? Or you clearly said that you got.
Yeah. So I think, so like I said, I had a 3.55 GPA and I had a 515 MCAT. I'm sure that things have changed, but when I was applying like 3 years ago, that was way higher than the average for like FIU med school, Miami med school. I didn't get into either of them, but I got into Brown and I got into BU and I got into Drexel and I got into like it's so random how it works. So yeah, you don't like I was like, of course I'm staying in Miami. And I was like, I'm just kidding. Actually. And my mom is a professor at FIU. Like you literally never know.
Wow.
Mom was like, don't worry, like you're definitely getting in. And I was like, that's funny. So yeah, I think it's really random and I think it's harder to get into med school, I would say, than being in med school. Like once you're in med school, everyone just wants you to do well. Nothing is like a trick. They're really like setting it up for you to learn and do well. It's hard to get in.
So can we talk about toxicity that there is in the undergrad? Because you just brought that up, and I just hear like repetitively from like everybody that there's so much toxicity, and there's so many people that just want you to fail in undergrad. And I don't know, I haven't started yet, and that kind of worries me because I want friends, and I don't know if I should.
I think it depends. So I think that could also be another reason to do like in engineering. I think there was very few of us that were pre-med. So I didn't really feel like I was competing with, I didn't really care how I was like, I've made it like a point always where I don't really have close friends in my major. So it wasn't like I was always like talking with friends about like my grades or anything. I'll say that I thought the more toxic part is like the weeding out classes, I would say. Like general chem, general bio, averages are in the 40s. Like they're out to like get students out of because so many people go into college as pre-med. So I will say those were hard. And then like pre-med advisors, they're not that nice. But I think they also have to be like extremely realistic.
Yeah.
Like every time I would go in, they'd be like, your grades. I'd be like, well, come on. Or like when I showed them like my list of where I was applying, they were like, we need to change this. Or like there's way too many reaches and like not enough like safety. And I was like, really? And then I ended up getting into like my reaches and not so I think nobody like knows you, I think, as much as like all of the things that you've done and how you're gonna like sell that in an interview. So I don't know. But I don't know. I didn't really experience that much. I don't know. I think people in med school are definitely very competitive.
Yeah. Is BU like a ranked school or is it like
well,
pass-fail type?
So the first 2 years are pass-fail, which was lovely, beautiful, fantastic. Now it is. So I'm in rotations now, and you can either get honors, high pass, pass, or fail. So I guess we're kind of divided into like 4 different quadrants. And yeah, I think that just depends. Some schools like will do grades at first, and then they'll just do like pass and fail. So I don't really know how like in the end that's going to work for residency applications. But now that step 1 is not graded, it's just pass fail. I think it's gonna make a little bit more of a difference. Like all your extracurriculars and maybe even like what med school you go to. Because I think that reputation is gonna matter a little bit more, unfortunately, because they have less numbers to go off of.
And I have a question about social life and mental health during your undergrad and medical school, because it's very draining and it's very like constant and persistent work and stuff. Do you feel as if you lost a little bit of your social life during undergrad, or do you think you still party with your friends and had fun?
I should have probably partied a little bit less. I don't think so. I think again, I think I was a little bit spoiled by having done IB, because IB was so hard. That like I didn't think that I think I did like enough to like do okay, and like I knew, but I didn't like freak out when I wasn't getting like perfect grades. Like in high school, I had a 4.0. I like knew, I was like, you're not gonna get a 4.0 in engineering, like, so why are you gonna like miss out on fun stuff? I was part of a sorority. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. And even in med school, I think as long as you're like efficient, and I also had like 2 or 3 jobs each semester. Like I just think as long as you're really efficient with your time. I was probably way more efficient college than I am now, because I had so many jobs and things. Now I'm like, I just have to study. And I'm like, but I could also be on TikTok, or I could also, and then I'm like, you were so busy in college. Together. But yeah, I think as long as you're like able to just like be good about a schedule.
So if you have time management, you still should have a social life, and you still.
Yeah, I mean, some people do study a lot, but I think it depends, especially like the first 2 years of med school. I knew there was like no point in like killing myself studying 24 hours if all I needed was a 70 to pass the test. I will say when it came time for like step, I was like, you should know a little bit more. But like then I just studied for step, and then I passed like,
And what's you
I
said
don't know.
step?
Yeah, so you have to take a couple of board exams. You take step 1, depends on the school, because like schools are changing. So Miami actually is different on this, but normally the traditional way is that you take step 1 after the 2nd year of med school, and step 2 after the 3rd year of med school. And then you'll take step 3 later on. It depends how you schedule it, but you can do it after like your internship year, or some people do it before. But before, those step scores really mattered for residency. And now step 1 is pass fail. So I don't even know what the score was that was necessary to pass, but it was hard. It was a hard test. It was like the MCAT kind of. It's like an 8-hour test. But I don't know. I think I would be way more miserable if all I was doing was studying. So
Awesome.
Now, to kind of wrap things up, just like in general, what's your best advice for pre-med students, and what's your best advice for pre-med biomedical engineering students, for both? Or it could be the same answer, you know?
my best advice
Yes.
is probably I don't know, I hate to say this, but like having like a lot of extracurriculars I think is really big, but then also knowing how to write about them I think is also really important, because anything can sound like anything. Like I babysat all of college, mainly because I was getting paid $20 an hour instead of the $9 that I was getting paid in the lab. And I could have just said I babysit a 5-year-old girl, but you can make that in your resume sound like I was doing childcare where I learned all these skills, blah, 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 blah. And so like you can like sell anything. And I think that makes a really big difference on like, because you hear about all these incredible people who get like 5.18s on the MCAT and were getting 3.97s in college, but they didn't like get into med school. And I think it depends a lot on like how they fill out that. You just have to like, you know how like great you are. You just need to like sell yourself.
So work on storytelling, basically.
Yeah, I think work on storytelling like throughout college. Like try to don't do stuff just for doing it. Like do stuff that genuinely interests you, because then you're able to like write about that with like more meaning. Like if I had done research on like, I don't know, something like I just wouldn't be able to sell it. Like if it's something I'm not interested in, I'm not gonna like sound like I'm passionate about it. And then I think just be personable in interviews. A lot of people are scoring 518s on the MCAT, but not all of those people can chat with a doctor during an interview. So I think that that's important. And like look, there's so many resources online. Like look into those. You can literally find, and you know how each interview is going to be. You know what like questions are being asked in the application. Just there's like so much on the internet now that like I think really helps. So it's like good to be prepared. I would say that's my advice. I don't know.
And thank you so much, Corinna. Is there
Oh,
anything
yeah.
else you want to say or add before?
I don't think so. Thank you guys.
No,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
I
thank
learned
you.
so much
No, yeah.
just from this.
I want to say like thank you so much because I know that you have a really busy schedule.
No, yeah, for
So
sure.
it actually like means so much to me. Oh, you do have something to say though.
What?
This is your chance to talk about your marathon.
Oh my God. I'm running the New York City
You're
Marathon.
running.
Wow.
If anyone wants to donate money to my account, you should post my link.
I will put the link in the description. I will put the link in the description. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. So,
Of course, guys. If you guys have any questions or like when you're like re-listening to this, if something didn't make sense, you can text me.
thank you so much,
Thanks.
Corinna. It really means a lot.
Thanks
Right.
for
Of course.
Bye.
Very nice to officially meet you guys.